I just did a video on Art and Sarnoff, looking at some of her quotes. Hi, welcome to another episode of With Enough Prep Time. I'm your host, the Nerd Man, and today we're going to be talking about Ray Fisher and the death of the Snyderverse. And when asked who killed the Snyderverse, remember those names: Ray Fisher and the Snyder fans themselves. I've been saying for months now, I've been trying to tell you guys. And this is the sad thing about it, it's fucking crazy because I actually like this Snyder movie. And I want, not the Snyderverse to continue, but I want Zack Snyder to continue in this. I want him to continue making movies, basically. I really want him to continue making movies in the DC universe, but not the movies he has planned or the stories he has planned. I want him to go back to the drawing board and be able to come up with something better. Because the body of his movie was good, but the epilogue was trash with the Joker. For anyone who's watched the Snyder cut now. And with Ray Fisher, I was like, dude, after watching the Snyder cut, I'm like, damn, I know why you were angry, bro. And also, I really want you to have a movie. I really do. And I've tried not to even talk about Ray Fisher anymore because it was raising my heart pressure. I'm telling you, it was so annoying what he was doing. And so he was being such a bloody SJW, sensitive, and for someone so incredibly talented, it's sad. He's finished his career, at least as Cyborg. Donezo. Absolutely no way back. So I decided to read this article of Warner Media's and Sarnoff on Zack Snyder's Justice League and DC. I'm so saddened by it because I think I'd love him to continue something within the DCEU, not be architect, bring in different voices, get they're now bringing in the promising young woman director Emerald Fennell to do a DC Santana movie. Why? Get her to do something better than that. Get her to do something more interesting. Maybe help pen the new Wonder Woman script. Wonder Woman 3. Get her on that. Get somebody good to be writing the main D. You need to get the main DC in order before you move on to Zantanas and Supergirls and all of this kind of stuff. But no, we're not going to do that. And half of the reason I have to say is because Zack Snyder fans couldn't accept the truth. Whenever you try and tell them the truth about Zack Snyder, whenever you try and explain to them that his movies are divisive, whenever you try and explain to them that Batman v Superman should have made over $1 billion, that there's no arguments, ifs, ands, and buts about it, that it made in its opening weekend 400 million, which is way on its way to $1 billion, and it should have crossed the $1 billion mark if people liked it. When you try and tell them that Man of Steel was a divisive movie where he made Superman out to be a dark killer and Pa Kent to tell his son to, maybe you should let children die and that was a mistake. When you try and explain it to them, they don't want to listen. They don't want to have the conversation. They want to continue bullying their way into making it out like everything good in the DC has ever done has something to do with Zack Snyder. When in fact, everything bullshit, apart from this new movie, where, look, everything bullshit is basically and the reason the DC is in the position it's in now is because of Zack Snyder. Not because of Patty Jenkins, not because of other directors in the DCEU. It's because of Zack Snyder. Because Zack Snyder was he had too many ideas and was too clever for the material. It's because of Zack Snyder and David fucking Goyer. And anyone who sat in the room after Man of Steel came out and it was divisive as shit and said, you know what, Zack Snyder, I'm going to give you 250 million to make another fucking Superman movie where Batman gets to beat up Superman. Anyone who was in that room and had that discussion that day ought to have nothing to do with the DCEU anymore, because it's their fault that the DC is in this position as well. They could have got Zack Snyder, hey, man, you seem to be really dark, have a really dark sensibility. Let's put somebody else on the Superman sequel. Let me put you on the Batman sequel, and then we'll figure out from here. No, instead they kept Zack Snyder as the absolute architect of the DC universe. Why? So let's go forward with this article and what and Sarnoff has to say. So we're going to start from where she starts reading off this particular where she starts the interview. So why did you decide to release the Zack Snyder's Justice League? We wanted to give Zack the opportunity to complete his vision in a 4-hour movie, which is impossible to do in theaters. Okay, so this is another thing that we've been mentioning recently. It would have been impossible to do in theaters, which is why I said it isn't Josh Whedon's fault. Anyone blaming, bullying, harassing, doing anything to Josh Whedon, do you hear this? We wanted to give Zack Snyder the opportunity to complete his vision in a 4-hour movie, which is impossible to do in theaters. So he never could have released this vision in theaters. So everyone's saying, oh, why did Warner Brothers, oh, because he couldn't have released this version, and he wouldn't, like, he kept doing 4 or 5-hour movies. You know, instead of like, hey, Warner Brothers, you know what we should do? We should do some solo movies first. And this is Warner Brothers' fault as well. This isn't just Zack Snyder. We should do some solo movies first, and then we can move on to this Justice League, so we can, you know, so we can skip out, you know, this great cyborg origin that we have at the center of what's supposed to be a Justice League movie, and we could skip, you know, some of like this Flash characterization and get straight on with the story that I'm trying to tell in this movie. If you don't want a 4-hour movie, that's what should have been said, and that isn't Zack Snyder's fault. That is Warner Brothers' fault. Lack of leadership. Anyway, we're happy that we have HBO Max to let the rope out, as it were, and allow the fans to see all 4 hours of Zack's vision. What does she mean by let the rope out? What does that even mean? Is that like she doesn't like Zack Snyder, and she doesn't like Snyder fans. That's what she means. This movie is very good, and I know it's been successful. There's no way on earth that this movie hasn't been successful, in my opinion. I think it has been successful. And yeah, I really do think it's been successful. Has it been as successful as, you know, the Snyder fans have hoped? Probably not, because there's no way it could have been as successful as Snyder fans hoped. It would be impossible to get that many subscriptions for a Zack Snyder, for just the Zack Snyder Cut movie. It was never going to happen. But I believe it's been very successful. So what are your plans going forward for DC? We've got an incredible group of creators, television series creators, Max series creators, feature film creators, who are basically broadening the base of the talent that we work with on DC, because we're so excited about the potential to build out the DC universe. It's one of the reasons why I was hired almost 2 years ago. The before and after was a very siloed organization with no connectivity between the businesses. DC was being developed, but in a kind of monolithic way in each division. My mantra coming in was to make it bigger and broader, and we really want to surprise and delight the fans with more connective tissues across the various media and platforms. I'm talking movies, HBO Max, television, and our games division. I don't believe a fucking word she is saying. Looking at the slate, I think they're running around like headless chickens, not knowing what the fuck to do. And their best option right now is to look at what Zack Snyder did, look at why it's successful, look at why everyone's loving it, look at why it's one of the greatest comic book movies of all time, period. and say to themselves, hang on a second, we've got something here. Let's get a couple of good directors in. Let's get Zack Snyder in so we don't lose the Snyder fan base as well, as toxic as some of them are. And let's try and build 2 Justice League movies out of this and some solo movies to lead into those Justice League movies. For instance, a Green Lantern Corps. Get Wonder Woman back on track. Get Superman back on track, probably with Henry Cavill. You do not want to get rid of Henry Cavill. This is insane. I cannot believe people who are doing business can actually think like this. Don't they understand when they get rid of someone like Henry Cavill that it looks bad on their company? When they fail people like Amy Adams, when they fail Lawrence Fishburne, when they fail actors like Jeremy Irons, like they've got some of the best actors on the planet in their franchise, and they're failing them. They're all gonna think, fuck that, don't go to DC, go to Marvel. It's easy. You don't get caught in scandals. You don't get caught in all of this kind of thing. You get supported. You get other directors wanting you in their Oscar movies. You get all sorts of perks by being at Marvel. You need directors and actors and people who work in the industry to feel that way about DC movies. If you don't, if they think my career is going to be in a worse off position when I went into this DC movie than then after I starred in this DC movie, then you're going to be fucked. Everyone in Wonder Woman 84, their career has taken a hit for being in Wonder Woman 84 because you didn't know, like, to basically say, hey, this script isn't fire. We need to do another take on this. We need a rewrite. No one had the balls to actually say that. It's the same with Man of Steel. Every actor, Amy Adams was at the height of her career. She's had to rebuild her career slowly from the damage that Man of Steel did to it. You need to stop thinking like this. You need to stop thinking like directors like Zack Snyder. You're just going to let them go. What are you going to do? Let them go? He might go and direct the X-Men or and then it makes $1 billion and you're going to look embarrassed because he's just done the best movie of his life, the most unifying movie of his life. Everyone's going to be looking out for his next project. He's one of the hottest directors on the planet. You want to get rid of him now? Are you insane? Just because some fans bullied you on Twitter? Grow a pair. All right. The Snyder Cut came about because of a fan campaign. And I'm sorry, I don't mean this as a toxic bullying kind of way towards Warner Brothers. I'm just saying you're in business. Look at the money. Look at the facts. Look at the facts. What Zack Snyder has done in this Justice League movie merits consideration, at least consideration, and to try and keep him in the Warner Brothers business. It is insane to not want to not be thinking like that right now, after how it's been how people have responded to it. I just think it's crazy. I know some people have bullied you on Twitter. I've been against that from the jump. But the fact is, it's only Twitter. Forget about it. Just get on. When you start giving the DC fans movies that they like, they will come. It doesn't matter what these silly little Snyder fans are saying. Forget about any Snyderverse. Let him just go away. Think about a singular project where the Justice League are all alive. That's all you need to tell him. You maybe in future we'll do your nightmare bullshit, but for now, let's keep the Justice League alive and try and move on and grow this franchise. Get some other voices in to also help along the way. So the Snyder Cut came about because of a fan campaign online. Do you feel like you need to strike a balance between being responsive to fans and charting your own course as a company? How responsive do you believe DC should be? We're always going to listen to I mean, the MCU fans must be laughing at us right now. MCU, all of the people at Marvel must be doing a fucking dance right now, with the joke that DC is. We're always going to listen to our fans, but we are in the service of the broadest fan base, and we owe them an integrated, holistic strategy. All right, where is it? Where is it, darling? I'm sorry. Where's this integrated strategy? Zatanna? Blue Beetle? That's your holistic strategy? We are the shepherds of the franchise, and hopefully when the fans see what we've got in store, they'll know that DC is in good hands across many different platforms with many different creators, different voices in the mix. No, you want to make Batman movies because you know Batman will make you $1 billion. That's what you want to do. You want to leave DC behind, and you want to make Batman movies. That's basically it. I know you, and make Marvel type movies that are more like Marvel. That's what you want to do. We want different voices in the mix. For certain fans that want singular voices, they may be disappointed, but we would ask them to be patient and see what we've got in store for them, because perhaps the newer voices in the mix will have just as compelling stories to tell. I have no problem with newer voices. But why are you putting Ta-Nehisi Coates on a black Superman movie rather than a Martian Manhunter or an actual black superhero? Why? I have no problem with new voices. It's a great idea. You need new voices in the mix. On balance, you of course want to listen to your fans, but we do not want to stay true. But we do want to stay true to our vision and our mission for DC and build that out. You have no mission. We have weekly meetings with our key execs in every division. Last August, I was made head of the studios and networks, and now have all the creative groups underneath me. So now around that table, it's not just Warner Brothers Film, Warner Brothers Television, and Warner Brothers Games, but it includes HBO. It includes HBO, yeah. So, but it includes HBO and HBO Max and Turner Networks, Adult Swim and the Kids and Family Networks. We are involving all those people so that we can make our Super Pets movie. That's what they've got in mind. A Super Pets, a Hot Wheels, a Bat Wheels Batman cartoon. That's what you've got in mind. You don't have a Green Lantern movie in mind. You don't have a Martian Manhunter movie in mind. You don't, I mean, I've got a headache. You're trying to get together the Justice League. Get together the most popular teams in your franchise. Get me some Teen Titans. Get me some, characters and franchises that people are aware of. Build up those franchises in the DC. At least, I'd even take, like another redeveloping or movies about the Watchmen, universe. Something. That builds interesting characters rather than characters I know for a fact you're trying to turn it into the MCU, and it doesn't suit the DC, and DC fans will reject it. They will reject it because they'll be like, I can just go to Marvel for that. Marvel does it better anyway. Marvel does that comedy, sense of humor, connective universe thing way better than DC does it. Because they've got Kevin Feige. The best thing that DC does is get directors with auteur personalities and actual visions for the characters, and actually gets the directors to do their takes on the characters. That's what the DC does best. Where sometimes it's dark. They have darker themes, more serious, more, but it can also be like Shazam, where there's that vision for it. Get directors to be doing that, but just make sure you give them some guidelines with the characters. It's not so hard. We are involving all those people in our plans going forward, and that means the media is going to be more connected. sometimes in subtle ways and sometimes in more overt ways, like opposite the Suicide Squad, we're spinning out Peacemaker. I have no fucking interest in a John Cena Peacemaker or the Suicide Squad full of jokes, Marvel, R-rated a Marvel movie. It's going to be a bunch of bullshit. I don't care. I don't care. I'd rather you bring David Ayer back for Suicide Squad 2. Fuck the world, I said it. Yes, I'd rather David Ayer back for Suicide Squad 2 than James Gunn. I think it's a bullshit idea. I'm not going to be watching it unless it's shockingly good. I'm not watching it. Period. It's just, yeah. Anyway, it's my job to make sure we super serve our fans across all demos and all fan bases. Basically, you're trying to go after Marvel fans when you have a fan base already and you're trying to reject that fan base. Okay, so Variety says there's also been a toxic side to your fandom with reports that critics and this is where it gets really fascinating, and some of your executives have received threats for not endorsing the Snyder Cut or for being perceived as standing in the way of its release. What's your reaction to that behavior? So remember Zack Snyder saying, oh, we don't have a toxic fan base. Oh, we help suicide prevention, instead of telling his fan base to cut it out, to stop doing this, that you're hurting my brand. Well, here we go. We're not tolerating any of that. That behavior is reprehensible no matter what franchise you're talking about or what business you're talking about. It's completely unacceptable. I'm very disappointed in the fans that have chosen to go to the negative place with regard to DC, with regard to some of our executives. It's just disappointing because we want this to be a safe place to be. We want DC to be a fandom that feels safe and inclusive. We want people to be able to speak up for the things they love, but we don't want it to be a culture of canceling things, i.e. people, that any small faction isn't happy with. We are not about that. We are about positivity and celebration. Wow. Now, this is the first statement that I have completely agreed with her on. I absolutely 100% agree with her on. This culture of cancellation, this culture of, we're going to go on Twitter and tell, say some guy's racist. No, and then everyone just joins in. We stand with you. It's bullshit. You need evidence. You need due process. You need to take people to court if they've done something wrong to you and let them deal with it that way, by objective, impartial observers, not by a malicious mob whose only reason for supporting some guy against supposed racism he's faced is because they want to restore a Snyderverse, to restore Snyder to be head of their universe. They don't give a fuck about racism. They don't give a fuck if Ray Fisher actually faced any kind of racism in his life. If Ray Fisher had racism, if somebody else had have called Ray Fisher anything terrible, the N-word, they wouldn't have cared. They only cared so far as they thought pathetically that it supported their agenda. And look at what's happened. Now you've been harassing all the executives, from Jeff Jones to Toby Emmerich to Walter Hamada, and they don't like you anymore. They hate the DC fans, and they're trying to drop you like a bad habit. Well, and it's sad, sad, especially because I actually like the Snyder Cut. I would have gone out and supported it properly if you guys would listen. If you guys would listen to reason. You never want to listen to reason. And here we go. The campaign for hashtag release the Snyder Cut has moved into a new phase. It's now hashtag restored in the Snyderverse. What's your reaction to this new campaign? I appreciate that they love Zack's work, and we are very thankful for his many contributions to DC. We're just so happy that he could bring his cut of the Justice League to life, because that wasn't in the plan until about a year ago. With that comes the completion of his trilogy. We're very happy we've done this, but we're very excited about the plans we have for the multi-dimensional DC characters that are being developed right now. I don't think they have any plans. I don't think they have any plans for the core team apart from stupid plans like making the DC Trinity all women. And it won't work. You've got plenty of female characters, strong, great DC female characters that you can choose from, that you can bring into the Justice League, that you can bring into that orbit. I wouldn't mind you doing a Justice League movie too, having Zatanna in the Justice League movie, and then shooting out and doing a Zatanna movie from that, and add Blue Beetle to that movie, and then spin out and do a Blue Beetle movie from that. Why on earth are you doing a Blue Beetle and Zatanna movie before you've even done a Green Lantern Corps movie or a Martian Manhunter? These are much weaker IPs. But at least you've got a good writer for Zatanna, so maybe she'll pull something out of her hat. So will there be more of these director's cuts? Will we see the David Ayers cut of Suicide Squad? We won't be developing David Ayers cut. Now, again, this saddens me. I would love to see that movie. I would really, really love to see that movie. And you know why? Because I actually liked the Suicide Squad movie. And I thought there were really good parts of it. And the bits that I liked about it were the more darker, because I think the grittier, darker kind of aesthetic actually suits the Suicide Squad. So I would love to see the Ayer cut. But you know what? What did you do? When they released the Snyder cut, they did it for you. They went out of their way. They spent 70 more million of their own money to release the Snyder cut on a project they knew is not going to make their money. That at best they were going to get more subscriptions for HBO Max. It was not going to be an immediate, like in terms of an investment, they're not going to get their money back immediately. They're never going to recoup that 300 million monstrosity that they worked on in terms of the Justice League, the Josh Whedon's Justice League. They're never going to recoup that money. And it's because Zack Snyder made divisive movies. I keep telling you. I kept telling you about this. You were like, oh no, they were, people love them. People, no, they didn't. They did not like his Batman v Superman. They did not like his Man of Steel. And now he's finally done what I said he should have been doing from the beginning, making Superman, making one outside of the killing, of course, and the murdering that the Justice League were doing, but making the characters like they appear in the comics. And guess what? People love it. He finally did that, and people love it almost collectively. Yeah, there are some voices who just hate Zack Snyder because, you know, I don't blame them. I mean, like, with his fan base and the harassment and all of that kind of stuff, how can you blame them? They don't like Zack Snyder, and they don't want to admit that he's done something good. So, you know, and now we're not getting the Ayer cut. Because if you were appreciative, and it was, and you didn't go around harassing Jeff Johns, harassing Walter Amada, saying you want him fired, saying you want Toby Emmerich fired, saying before you even the Snyder cut even came out, talking about restore the Snyderverse. If you hadn't have been harassing the execs like that, we may have actually got the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad. But nope, that's done now. We won't be developing the David Ayers cut. Looking at the DC slate, there seems to be an emphasis on creating opportunities for diverse creators and characters. There was already diversity in the DCEU. It was much more diverse than the MCU, than when the MCU started. There was a lot like Suicide Squad is one of the most diverse cast of characters in a superhero movie ever. And what did you do? You replaced it with another director who basically whitewashed the Suicide Squad. Thank you, DC. That's a lot. You've got a Latino superhero movie with Blue Beetle. Sasha Cal becoming the first Latinx actress to portray Supergirl, and Tanishi Coates writing a Superman movie. Is there a concerted effort to take the brand in a more inclusive direction? It's super important to me, and it's in line with what we want to do. We want to branch out and let creators interpret parts of the universe in unique and special ways. Tanishi working on Superman is incredibly exciting. I don't know why he hasn't done anything. Like, if it was another black writer, I'd be totally for it. There are other black writers right now that are much more accomplished than Tanishi Coates. The guy who wrote One Night in Miami. The guy who wrote a DC comic, who wrote 12 Years a Slave. There's the writer of 12 Years a Slave, the Oscar-winning 12 Years a Slave, wrote a DC comic. Why did you not bring him in? Why Tanishi Coates? He writes basically political. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying he writes political books. And then he wrote a couple of comic books that aren't highly regarded. Why is it so exciting that Tanishi Coates, a guy who writes basically political books, is doing a Superman movie? I don't understand why. So unless he came with a script to J.J. Abrams and the script's really good. J.J. Abrams, of course, who wrote Superman Flyby, which is absolutely terrible script if you've never read it. In it, Lex Luthor was a Kryptonian, and Krypton never exploded. That's the guy we've got doing the next Superman movie. Thank you again, Warner Brothers. I would take Zack Snyder any day of the week, twice on Sunday, over J.J. Abrams doing, well, actually, they're both bad with Superman. But anyway, I can't wait to see what he comes up with. And director Andy Muschietti on The Flash or Patty Jenkins. I can't wait to see what he comes up with, and director Andy Muschietti on The Flash or Patty Jenkins. Matt Reeves just finished filming The Batman against the odds of COVID. We're so excited to finish that movie. Of course you are, because it's Batman, and have people see it, because Matt's take on Batman is different than other takes. Even familiar characters have lots of possibilities, right? Okay, so you talked about breaking down silos in the company. What does that mean? And I'm looking forward to the Matt Reeves Batman, because it seems Batman is the only franchise that they can get right. What does that mean for DC? Creators want to have franchises that are larger than life, but oftentimes you start working with a company and the company has discrete divisions. So you become a film creator, you become a television creator, and never the twain shall meet. My role is to pull people together towards a vision that can make the whole more than the sum of its parts. One of the key aspects of that is having a long-range plan. These movies and TV series can take 2+ years to make. So if you're planning out and bringing other people into the plan and further accentuates the silos. It's having the plan, and then it's having the strategy where all of the various businesses work in harmony to create a plan. Seems logical, blah, blah, blah. It was all bullshit. How did viewers and fans see the org charts when it came to DC? I'm not interested in their Peacemaker and Suicide Squad movie. And their anyway, so let's move on to Ray Fisher. Ray Fisher has accused Warner Brothers executives of racially bias. And I want you to listen to this, guys, because this is very, very important. Of biased behavior and of trying to impede an investigation into alleged misconduct on the set. Guardians of the Galaxy movie before Thor or Hulk in the MCU. What do you mean by that, philosophical pickle? I'm not sure what you mean by that. It's like doing a Guardians of the Galaxy movie before Thor or Hulk in the MCU. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, I get what you mean now. Ray Fisher has accused Warner Brothers executives of racially biased behavior and of trying to impede an investigation into alleged misconduct on the set of Justice League. Did your investigation corroborate any of the claims of racism on the part of your employees? No. No. Our investigator, Judge Catherine Forrest, has issued statements specifically about DC Films president Walter Hamada, saying that there was no evidence of interference by Walter in the investigation. She said that the cuts made in the Joss Whedon version of Justice League were not racially motivated. They were motivated only by cutting it down to 2 hours, which it's very obvious was always the case. We took it very seriously, so we hired one of the top investigators out there and gave her a tremendous amount of leeway. Ray Fisher has previously stated that because of a non-disclosure agreement, he can't share specifics about the abusive behavior he endured on the set of Justice League. Is there an NDA that would prevent him from publicly sharing all the details of what transpired on Justice League? Not that I know of, no. Well, Ray Fisher, I wanted you to have I really wanted you to have a Cyborg movie. Unfortunately, you encouraging your fan base have not only taken away an opportunity of your own movie, Cyborg movie, you've also taken the opportunity for us to see another Snyder movie within the DC universe. And thanks to you, we won't be getting either the Ayer cut as well, ever. It's done. Thanks to you, the DC universe is going to be turned into the MCU, and it's going to fail pathetically because they're just copying another, another model instead of going with what has made them successful. Movies like The Joker, movies like Wonder Woman, movies like Shazam, movies like Aquaman, movies like The Dark Knight, movies like Watchmen, movies like V for Vendetta. But no, they just want to copy Marvel. Let's just copy Marvel. Why not make a universe out of movies like that? And this Justice League movie shows you the way. Like Jarrell says, they want you to be a light that shows the way. This movie, unfortunately, I know it was from a director who's caused a lot of hassle because of his fan base and not telling his fan base, encouraging his fan base to be patient and wait and not, harass people online like Jeff Johns and like Toby Emmerich and Walter Hamada, so that they're chased off of social media, they're chased off of Twitter. He didn't tell his fans to stop doing that. He didn't tell his boy Ray Fisher to wait for an investigation. You've got the investigation going. Stop it now. It's done. And so fell the House of DC. Walter Hamada has been on receiving end of a lot of fan criticism. What was his involvement in the production of Justice League? Or had nothing to do with the Justice League. He was running DC Films in 2017 when Justice League was completed and released. He wasn't put in charge of DC Films until the following year. About a year ago, Walter, Warner Brothers Pictures Group, Toby Emmerich, me, Bob Greenlet, Kevin Riley, and HBO Max program Sarah Aubrey sat around the table with Zach and greenlit the Snyder Cut. The cut includes Ray Fisher's entire story as Cyborg, which is something that he had been disappointed had been cut from the Justice League movie 3 years ago. Perhaps we've lost the plot a little bit, which is that Toby and Walter were part of the green lighting that allowed Zach's vision to come to life, which includes sharing the full story about Ray's character. There really was nothing that Walter did against Ray. In fact, he offered him a role in the Flash movie. You hear that? Walter was promoted recently. He offered him a role in the Flash movie, which means your little Snyderverse would have continued, which means they were probably open before all of this bullshit to maybe even letting Zack Snyder come back and navigate a couple of movies. But no patience. Walter was promoted recently. I am fully supportive of Toby and Walter and their visions. I truly believe they are great executives. Walter happens to be a person of color, so he knows how it feels like. I don't think that's anything to do with it. Whether Walter is a person of color or not doesn't mean he couldn't have overseen a project where racism happened. That's bullshit. He is bringing in diverse voices at an accelerated pace more than anyone has in the past. I want good stories. That's what I want. And finally, Jim Lee. This is the last bit I wanted to talk about. Jim Lee has been put in control of the DC Comics universe. Jim Lee is one of the biggest Batman fanboys ever. I'm disappointed. And, you know, I'm telling you, Jeff Johns was our best bet as the head of DC. He really was one of our best bets. Either Jeff Johns or somebody else. Somebody who was more than just a Batman fanboy. But now we've got Jim Lee heading this circus. And I imagine we'll have about 10 more Batman projects in development. Get ready for the Alfred movie. Get ready for the Batmobile movie. Get ready for every other type, anything to do with Batgirl, Bat this, Bat that. Get ready for Batman to feature in all of these DC movies. You think it's a Blue Beetle movie? Nah, it's a Batman and Blue Beetle movie. You think it's a Batgirl? Nah, it's a Batman. Any movie that you think it's a Zatanna movie? You think it's a Justice League Dark? Nah, it's a Batman and Justice League Dark movie. It's another Batman fanboy. I'm done. You know, I'm just about done with DC. I'm gonna watch the Batman movie. I'll watch the Shazam movie. If the Flashpoint gets good reviews, I'm watching the Flashpoint. Forget your Suicide Squad. Forget everything else. I don't want to restore the Snyderverse. Bring back Snyder to direct the movie. And that I'm done. Multiverse. Multiverse just means you don't have a plan. That's what multiverse means. If you don't understand what that's code word for, that means they don't have a plan. They want to make put Batman in a Flash movie. Now that Flash is lit, everyone's going to want to go and see the Flash movie. They need to put Batman. They need to bring in classics because they don't believe in these DC characters apart from Batman. Anyway, that's me. Please like, subscribe. All right, so here we go. Edward Arnett says, to continue with JL2 and 3, since Jesus Christ, I don't think no one cares about what Warner Brothers is doing, right? Good, true. Slap Ray Fisher's dumb. Please, subscription. Thank you. Justice League Dark. Yeah. The future Justice League. Yeah. So anyway, that's me. Guys, I'm going to see you on the flip side. And I love you 3000. It's bad news all around for everyone. And Ray Fisher, thank you. Thank you. You've ruined the DC universe. And you've ruined your career. And you've led all of these people up the garden path. And nothing's come of it. We told you. We told you. Wait for the investigation to finish and shut your mouth. On Twitter, that I mean, not just shut your mouth in general, but we tried to warn you. As a brother, I tried to warn you. As a black brother, I tried to warn you. And everyone was trying to warn you, tell you, dude, this bullshit you're pulled isn't going to work. Anyway, thanks very much. As I said, see you on the flip side. And